Good evening. Welcome, viewers. Welcome to our podcast, Bharat and Geopolitics. Today's topic is exploring the minds of India's adversary. We are moving further on this topic. We will be covering more questions today. In this podcast, we unravel the mysteries and motivation behind those who challenge us. I am your host here, Hari Prakash Sinha. I am thrilled to embark on this intellectual journey with you as we delve into the psyche of individuals and groups who pose challenges to India's interest. In a world shaped by complex geopolitical dynamics, understanding the perspectives and intentions of adversaries is paramount. Through insightful conversation, expert analysis, and in-depth research, this podcast aims to shed light on the factors driving adversarial behavior and the implications for India's security, diplomacy, and strategic interests. Join me as we peel back the layers of history, ideology, and geopolitics to gain deeper understanding of the adversaries that shape India's strategic landscape. From neighboring nations to global actors, we will explore the multifaceted dimensions of conflict, competition, and cooperation in the pursuit of national security and regional stability. So, whether you are a scholar, a policymaker, or simply curious about the intricacy of international relations, this podcast invites you to expand your perspective and engage in thought provoking discussions on the ever evolving dynamics of global security. Join me in welcoming our distinguished speaker, Dr. Adityanjee. Dr. Adityanjee, it's a pleasure to have you on our podcast today. Your expertise and insight are invaluable, and we are excited to dive into our discussion together. Thank you for sharing your knowledge with our audience. Let's make this conversation memorable. Welcome, Dr. Adityanjee. Welcome to our platform.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Sinha. Thank you for inviting me once again on your platform, and we will continue the discussion on mindset of India's adversaries. So let's go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Saj. So we are moving to our third questions. Two questions we covered yesterday. Third is there, and we have some more questions on this topic that we'll be doing one by one. So our today's first question to you is, what are the primary sources of tension and conflicts between India and its adversary? And what steps can be taken to de-escalate tensions and promote stability in the region? Over to you, sir. So please come in.
Well, let's qualify. We were talking about Pakistan and China as India's adversaries. But if we don't confine ourselves to our region, our near abroad, countries like Turkey should be considered India's adversaries.
Yeah.
Countries like UK should be considered as India's adversaries. They were former colonial powers, but after transfer of power in 1947, they have continued to do whatever they could to dismember and disintegrate India. Similarly, countries like Canada can be considered our adversaries geostrategically, even if they are very far away.
Yeah. Yes.
Similarly, countries like Malaysia can be considered our adversaries, or for that matter, Maldives, although it's a tiny country, but it is at this point in time has taken the mantle of enemy of India. Let me be very clear about it. The current regime in
Right.
Maldives have taken that. So, sources of conflict and tensions are different with different countries. And rather than elaborate on sources of tension and conflict with all these countries, we will just confine ourselves to Pakistan and China for
Okay.
very practical reasons.
Yeah.
As far as Pakistan is concerned, I've already said, with Pakistan, it is a question of our existence, our civilizational existence. Pakistan was born in opposition, a congenital by birth opposition to India and Indic civilization.
Right.
Pakistan considers itself as the leader of the Islamic Ummah, Islamic civilization. They sometimes even don't consider themselves to be of South Asian ancestry or Indian ancestry. They identify more with Middle East, West Asia, or Arab nations, whether they accept it
Yeah.
or not. So, for Pakistan, the main source of tension is that India has a Sanatan civilization and they would like it to change it to Islamic civilization. The concept of Ghazwa-e-Hind is very much open and alive in Pakistan's mind. And that is driving the tension and the conflict, as I said earlier, that people in Pakistan said, "Hans ke liya tha Pakistan, ladke lenge Hindustan." So
Yeah.
they have every intention to eliminate, annihilate India as an Indic civilization, as a non-Islamic civilization from the face of the earth. That is the existential challenge we are facing from Pakistan,
Yeah.
whether it's a small country uh, or not. That is where their intention is. China, the aim is slightly different. China is an expansionist, imperialistic power that has a hunger and lust for land, lust for resources, and it is always, whether it was under imperial rule, under dynasties, uh, or as a republic, as Republic of China, initially under Dr. Sun Yat-sen, then under Chiang Kai-shek. China has taken an expansionist view. China has always tried to portray itself as the the kingdom from heaven, the heavenly kingdom. They have the divine right to rule
Yeah.
rest of the world. And China divides actually countries into tributaries or vassal states and barbarians. So they do consider part of India as part of their, you know, sort of strategic neighborhood. And as I said, they would like to control not just Tibet, they would like to have entire Ladakh,
Yeah.
Arunachal Pradesh, Sikkim, Bhutan, and Nepal. They are encircling India and Indian Ocean, having got so many bases because they want to break India into parts so that a resurgent India never poses a challenge to Chinese hegemony, not just in Asia, but in entire world. So the sources in conflict are different. They are not religious. They are not so much as civilizational, but Chinese do have a sense of heightened Han Chinese racial arrogance. Everyone else besides Han Chinese race is a barbarian. So that is what their conceptualization is. They will continue to nibble at the territory of India. They have done that in the past and they attempted to do that in 2020. They tried to do that in 2017 with Doklam crisis with Bhutan. So China will never have satiation of its lust for land, lust for natural resources, and that's a different issue. How we can, what steps we can take to de-escalate this tension and
Yeah.
promote stability in the region? Well, how do you de-escalate the tension when you are not doing anything and your enemies are doing everything to annihilate you?
But
So what you have to do, you have to take actions to ensure your own survival and existence.
yeah.
There's no question of de-escalating the tension by taking some measures, token measures, confidence building measures. Again, the message to future governments of India is that don't fall into the trap of quote unquote normalizing the relationship, promoting the peace and harmony in the region and all that sort of thing. This word as a geopolitical entity is very cruel and very harsh. The bigger fish always eats the smaller fish. The only international law that is observed is might is right.
Yeah.
Uh, Superpowers do things without any concern, without any impunity. Uh, they will take actions. So, in order to ensure the survival of the nation and survival of the civilization, you have to be strong. Veera Bhogya Vasundhara, you know. So, you have to be brave. That is number one. Also, if you look at our own culture and civilization, we have our forefathers have stated Shastren Rakshite Rashtre Shastra Chinta Pravartate. A nation that is protected by arms, that's the nation where you can have discourse on ethics
Mm.
and morality. So, Shastra Chinta Pravartate. You cannot study, you cannot elaborate on philosophy and civilization and ethics and all the good things in life unless you are protected by an armor of weapons. And that is what India has to do in modern parliaments. Uh, in geopolitical terms, what India has to do is to improve her comprehensive national power. That's the only way to deter aggression. That's the only way to deter 1,000 pinpricks. Because otherwise, the tension, if you are perceived as weak, which Pakistan did, they felt that they could, you know, sort of conquer India in 1965, both uh, in run up to the 1965 main conflict in the run of Kutch.
Yeah.
First they attacked and got some success. And I think the Pakistani politicians and generals used to say, जब मुजाहिदों के घोड़े लाल किले की दीवारों पर जाएंगे, दौड़ेंगे और हमारा हरा झंडा फहराएंगे, चांद सितारा झंडा फहराएंगे, तब अच्छा लगेगा. So you know their intentions are, and the only way to deal with that kind of aggression, that kind of civilizational assault, is to disabuse them of the notion that they can come victorious. So we have to be perpetually vigilant as far as aggression from the West is concerned. And I think a situation may come when we, India, may have to take steps to dismember Pakistan further.
You're right.
A number of prime ministers have said that a peaceful and stable Pakistan is in India's strategic interest. That's all hogwash. A strong and stable Pakistan will covet for more land, will covet for not Jammu and Kashmir, but they will try to create the anti-India state of Khalistan.
You're right.
They are already sending their agents to radicalize Indian Muslim population,
Yeah.
and they would like basically India to be Islamized. So, although Pakistan as a nation is a transitory nation, which has already dismembered once because of internal contradictions, it is still a nation that is artificial, based on only religion and not the sense of nationhood. So
Yes.
you see provinces, they are pulling apart in different directions, and some of the smaller provinces in terms of population have alleged that it is Punjabi colonialism of the other less sparsely populated provinces, and it is essentially Punjabi Sunni colonialism that has occupied like states like Baluchistan or states like Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, who have their own Pashtun identity and would rather be more comfortable either as an independent state or as part of Afghanistan, or for that matter, Sindh. There was a GSN movement. So Pakistan has internal contradictions. It may fall apart on its own, but if push comes to shove and Pakistan's ruling generals continue to escalate tension with India, a time may come that India's ruling governing agencies may have to break up Pakistan, and I have no qualms in saying that. As far as China is concerned, India has tried appeasement of China from 1949 onwards. What was the result? More belligerence on part of China
Yeah.
on China. The first prime minister of independent India, Jawaharlal Nehru, believed in socialism and he wanted to have good relations with China. So we allowed China, communist China, to occupy Tibet, which was a buffer state between India and China. Not only they allowed, but also corroborated in that process by supplying rice and rations to Chinese PLA when they were trying to occupy the Tibet. We
Yeah.
also gave up all our rights. We had two trade posts and we had right to post some resident officers in those trade posts in Tibet. We gave up those under Jawaharlal Nehru. And when China occupied Aksai Chin, Jawaharlal Nehru said that that's a barren piece of land where not even a blade of grass grows, basically rationalizing and legitimizing Chinese occupation of Aksai Chin and Ladakh, part of Ladakh. So with China, appeasement has not worked. It will not work. The only language China understands is the language of power and strength. So, in order to deter China from making tall, outlandish claims on India's territories and from preventing China from further containment of India, not just in Asia, but also internationally on international platforms, India will have to raise her comprehensive national power. That's a metric that was defined by Chinese Academy of Social Sciences, and they have attributed a value to this particular metric based on not just economic, commercial, uh, uh, military, uh, social harmony, a number of other factors taking into consideration, internal distress, unrest, etc., etc. And for their calculations, uh, at this point in time, the country with the most comprehensive national power is United States, and China is number two. Some matrices that calculate comprehensive national power put India as 10th or 11th, others put 4th or 5th, kind of thing. So India will have to improve her comprehensive national power. And the only way to do that is to do a strong reform internally of our systems all across. It's not just increasing the size of the military, but it also removing corruption, building a manufacturing base, building a military industrial complex, removing internal strife that is very common, taking care of anti-national groups and agents of foreign powers, and emasculating them completely so that they do not collaborate with China. Because in the past, groups in India have professed loyalty to China. You might recall that at the time of 1962 war, Communist Party was supporting China. In fact, there were some communists that were collecting funds for China. In fact, there was a politician who is currently in Congress party. His name is Mani Shankar Iyer. He was a student in London at that point in time, and he was raising funds and donations for China at the time of 1962 war. And we have foreign agents that collaborate with Chinese intelligence services. Some of them are journalists, others are politicians that collaborate with China. We have a political party that signed a memorandum of understanding with Chinese Communist Party in 2008. We do not know what is written in that memorandum of understanding and what it binds India to. So we have to take care of these internal problems, then only we'll be able to build up a strong and resurgent India. A powerful India would be a source of fear for China. A weak India is source of adventurism for China. So the only way to reduce tension and promote stability vis-a-vis China is for India to become strong. If you try to work with China in a peaceful manner, they don't treat you well. They take you for granted. They keep on making more and more demands. And that's why you have to develop a straight spine and tell China to do whatever they can, whereas we are going to safeguard our interests and we are not going to be taken by their bullying behavior. So those are the ways to safeguard our national interests. And the only way is, as I said, Shastrena Rakshite Rashtre Shastra Chinta Pravartate. We have to follow that mantra.
These men who collaborated with China were never punished.
Yes, they were never punished. The party that was collaborating with China continues to take pro-China line is still there. Communist Party Marxist. And of course, the China had supported a lot of insurgency movements in India, including Naxalite movement, and they had given sanctuary and safe harbor to uh, terrorist and successionist groups from Northeast. They are still doing that in Manipur because the Kuki, insurgents that are entering from Myanmar into Indian state of Manipur are being supported, are being armed by China.
So this was our third question, and I think we have taken 25 minutes of time. So should we close this meeting and start again and take up the next question?
I would suggest so because otherwise the next question will
Yeah,
require an elaborate answer.
yeah,
So let's adjourn for a while
yeah,
and then we regroup
yeah,
so that take that question in detail.
yeah, yeah. So I'll just read out the question. The fourth one is, how do India's adversaries leverage asymmetric tactics such as cyber warfare, disinformation campaigns, proxy warfare to challenge India's security interest and influence in the region? So this is the next question that we are going to take up. So just a 5 minutes break and we are coming back again. Is it okay, sir?
Yes, that would be perfectly fine because you don't want to, end in between the question as being taken
Right,
care of.
right, sir. So that wraps up today's episode. This was the one episode. We are going to take up second one just now. Thank you for joining us on this insightful journey. Remember to subscribe for more enriching conversations. And until next time, stay curious, keep exploring. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Adityanjee.
Thank you.